Hello and welcome to another edition of 310 to Left, presented by your New England Ford dealers and F-Series, America's best-selling truck for 48 years and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox. Tom Caron and Alex Speier, the penultimate week of the 2025 season. The penultimate homestand. We speak before the penultimate game of the. It's a very common word today.
I'm disappointed that we didn't start this countdown earlier so that we could go with the anti-penultimate, the pre-anti-penultimate, the anti-pre-anti-penultimate, the permutations involving penultimitude are wonderful.
You didn't grow up here, but you know who loved the word penultimate? Ned Martin.
Oh, fantastic.
He loved the penultimate game of a series. You'd get it throughout the season.
I love the idea that the middle game of a series you would be celebrating is the second to last,
Yes.
But it's like, yeah, it's a 3-game series. Like you can
another-
sure. The first game of the series is the anti-penultimate game.
There you go. Yeah. But we digress, as usual.
Good talk.
Good penultimate talk.
Yeah.
But not our penultimate discussion of the word penultimate. Ultimately, however, the Red Sox are trying to get this thing done. And it is an extraordinary reminder, I think, that clinching is hard. Like, there are the teams that run out and clinch early and hide. Every year, just like getting eliminated is hard. The last few years when they've been out of it, you still generally don't get mathematically eliminated until late in the season.
Yeah,
unless
like
you're
that
way
last
out of
week,
it.
the last weekend, absolutely.
So it can linger.
Yeah.
And in this case, the more it lingers, the more people start to get. I don't know about you. I'm starting to feel it at Dunkin' Donuts, or when I talk to people, it's like, hey, they're going to get this done. Like a month ago today, they were in the top wildcard spot. As we speak, they're in the third wildcard spot. Still a pretty comfortable lead. They should be able to get this done. It would be an epic collapse over the last 2 weeks. The numbers are on their side, but you got to win some games to officially get it done.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help them that the iceberg is shrinking as they're standing on it, right? And the fact that what had been a sizable lead in that, the separation between them in that fourth wild card spot had been considerable. We're talking about a handful of games, and then all of a sudden it ends up being 2.5 games, 2 games to the loss column, albeit with a tiebreaker against Cleveland, the wildly hot Cleveland Guardians. Unexpected there. That certainly does make it a little bit less comfortable for the Red Sox. They don't get to just coast through. They don't get to set up, to emphasize rest over urgency, or their sights have to be set on protecting themselves from what's coming below, as opposed to reaching for the AL East has now become a very unrealistic proposition.
No doubt about that. It also indicates the urgency when you start to look at how they've aligned things. Probably try to get 7 of the last 11 games started by Giolito, Bayo, or Crochet. It sets up that Giolito could pitch the final day of the season. That means he gets 3 more starts. We'll give you Crochet for game 1 of the playoffs. But you'd like to not have to use everybody and not have to blow everybody out down the stretch, but it's trending that way.
Yeah, marathon is going to sprint, right? And it's definitely a time of changed usage. You see it not only in how the starting rotation is being used, where generally speaking there's been the reluctance to ever skip a start. It was going 5 turn, the rotation was there are 5 spots in the rotation that are going, sometimes every once in a while it veered off. It wasn't always 5 guys, but it was always those 5 spots. And now you're seeing a 4-man rotation at times. Someone being skipped. You've seen Peyton Tolley being squeezed out of the rotation pretty quickly, and the Red Sox kind of reconfiguring so that Lucas Giolito is going to be pitching on 4 days of rest. Garrett Crochet is going to be pitching on 4 days of rest, which in modern parlance is probably short rest, because the majority of starts in Major League Baseball now are on 5 days of rest. This has been a commitment of the industry, essentially. There's no scientific rationale for it. There is no study that proves compellingly that it does a better job of keeping a pitcher healthy. Nonetheless, this is convention, and so the Red Sox are defying convention because of urgency.
Craig Breslow came on the show, as he does every Tuesday, and there's a lot to talk about there, about that very fact that, it was really interesting last week, right, when Alex Cora said, and it was clearly a message for anybody willing to listen, including the uniformed personnel in the clubhouse, let's stop talking about October. Let's stop talking about getting things ready for October. We got to get to October. I think that was an important message for everybody to hear.
It was a fascinating one because it was a kind of blunt. Reassessment of exactly what's going on with the team, and where we almost had guest appearances, but. Come
on by anytime. We're just talking about 3. There's 2 of the 3 we're talking about.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Would have occupied a little bit of space in front of the camera. But Yeah, I think
we don't want him tripping on a cable either and not being able to make those important starts. But yes, a loud message from Cora.
A pretty clear one that the focus is on what's immediate rather than what's in the future. But but then of course the next game, the Red Sox win against the Yankees, and afterwards Alex Cora was talking very candidly about, well, you clinched you clinched a record better than 500, and he said, I don't care about that. I play for October. And so it was there was a kind of comical juxtaposition, but like I'm a believer that that's also part of the September experience, where all of a sudden the way that you talk about a team can shift on a day over day basis in a way that doesn't really happen in the first 4 to 5 months of the season, because over those times you're looking at the broader expanse of what 162 games looks like. Now you are looking at those individual games. Oh, did the standings change by a game today? That changes the playoff probabilities in a much bigger way than it does in the middle of June.
And it's a young team. A lot of these players are going through this for the first time. Even a Jaron Duran, right? A Cedar Rafael, the guys who have a little more experience than the truly young guys, they haven't been through this. They haven't been through those last 2 weeks where the days are winding down, but the magic number is not winding down proportionately. That's a different scenario, a different feeling for these guys.
It's a pretty fascinating reminder of how much the team has transformed in the matter of a few years, because in 2021, the Red Sox had a whiplash September where their playoff probabilities were going from 97% in the final week down to sub 50% in very, very short order, because of the way that this is what it does to have a 3-game winning streak or a 3-game losing streak in September when one of your competitors moves in the opposite direction. And that's exactly what the American League has been like through most of this season. This has been a year where every one of the teams in the American League has been capable of a week-long winning streak and of a week-long losing streak. And typically, like more often than not this season, those two things have been running into each other at the same time. And so you've had one of the more chaotic, more mobile standings that I can remember.
Remember last time they made the playoffs, 2021, they got there on the last day of the season. It was a 5th inning when Devers hit the home run. I mean, it was the middle of that last game. They were trailing.
Yeah, they looked like they were in deep, deep trouble when Chris Sale was getting hit around in the early innings against Washington on the final day of the season. And remember, they also had to do crazy things in terms of managing the roster. Ryan Brazier ended up pitching on 5 straight days to end the season, which was the first time, if memory serves, it was the first time any pitcher had done that in baseball in like 30 or 40 years. There were some wild things happening down the stretch there because of the giant Faulknerian explosion of now.
And Nathaniel Lowe, 2 years ago, and now he's with the Red Sox. When he was with the Rangers, they won the World Series. They made it on the penultimate day of the season. They clinched at the end, had to go through the wild card. So kind of an example of how you can do it. We're going to talk to him in just a couple of minutes. But first, let's hear from Chief Baseball Officer Craig Breslow, who joined me on Tuesday night in a pregame show to talk about the state of the team in this last 2-week stretch run. It's Craig Breslow on 310 to Left, presented by your New England Ford dealers. With Craig Breslow, Chief Baseball Officer. Won't ask you about what that could mean in October. I know better than to ask you about October yet. But with 12 games remaining, you take a look at the way the rotation is laying out. Try to maximize what you can get out of those 3 guys between now and the end of the season, right?
For sure. We've seen how those 3 guys have stabilized, the team, the rotation, Crochet all season long. But then Lucas and Brian over the last couple of months, they've formed a really formidable trio, and getting the ball in their hands as much as possible is something that's only going to benefit us.
You talk about those 3 guys and the ability to maybe have them in the postseason. And again, not getting ahead of ourselves, but this team has a lot of what makes successful teams in a playoff race in the playoffs, right? You have really strong pitching at the top of rotation. You got a reliable closer on the back end. You got offense that has been contributing. Do you feel good about the makeup of this team for these final 2 weeks and maybe beyond?
Sure. It's easy to talk about, how the team can position itself come October and the kind of disproportionate number of outs that your top starters and your leverage relievers face. But we've got to worry about tonight, and we've obviously got Connolly on the mound facing a familiar opponent in the Athletics, and we saw what he's capable of doing, and feel like he and a number of the other young starters will help stabilize the rotation.
Talk a little about that decision, having early make the start tonight. Tolley Harrison available in relief, obviously, but you could have gone a number of ways there. What did early do to sort of get the shot?
Yeah, there were a number of guys that we felt confident in, but just looking at the rest, looking at kind of the routine, the matchup, felt like it was the right spot for Connolly. Maybe unfortunately for him, he's got an impossibly high bar to try to meet tonight, given what he was able to do in his last start. But no, I think we've seen what he's capable of. He's got a deep mix. He's got the ability to get righties and lefties out. The changeup plays so well versus opposite-handed hitters, and then a little bit more velo on the fastball, ability to beat guys in the zone. So excited to see what he's got tonight.
Lenny was talking before about his secondary stuff and how impressive it is, and that's what he was able to use. Like, a guy like that is really hard to figure out for a hitter, right?
Yeah, I think part of the reason that you could be a little bit more comfortable with him facing the same team is just how deep the repertoire is, the ability to really shape pitches and manipulate the ball. So he's got a couple different looks to his breaking ball. He can kind of throttle guys back with a really, really good changeup, and then there's enough velocity on the fastball to beat guys too.
Yeah, we kind of laid it out before, and if you're going to get 7 out of these final 12 starts out of those 3 guys, out of Crochet and Giolito and Bayo, that probably is how it may be. That means you're going to need Toll, you're going to need Harrison, you're going to need Early. These guys are going to be important before it's all said and done, right?
For sure, and exactly what that looks like will decide whether it's taking down starts or being available either in some leverage shorter situations or being able to provide length out of the bullpen. We've got some options. We've got guys who can cover innings, and also we feel like guys who can impact a game.
We in the media love to take a point and show records before and after, and clearly the loss of Roman Anthony has impacted this offense and this team. How much did he mean, and what's the latest on his recovery? I know it's a ways off, and he's just beginning the early steps. What can you tell us about where he's at?
Yeah, just in terms of process, we're taking things day to day. Step one, kind of get the discomfort and symptoms away. It does seem like he's starting to turn the corner there, but then we've got to build him back up to taking swings and to performing in the most competitive environment that exists. But look, it's impossible to kind of underscore how valuable he has been to the team, to our lineup. Just the presence and maturity to his at bats, the way that he really lengthened out the lineup, and we saw what he did when he was leading off, was just the ability to get on base and then also slug. It seemed like he was making a difference from his first at bat on. Yeah,
you won't have the luxury of a rehab. Obviously, whenever he does get back, the minor league season will be over. But it's a little different than it was, right? You got traject machines. They can get pretty close. I know it's not game repetition, but you can get a guy pretty close to being ready even without those minor league appearances, right?
Yeah, ironically, I think I don't know if easiest is the right word, but the thing that we feel confident we can attack is his comfort in the box and seeing pitches. It's everything else that becomes really hard to replicate. It's getting out of the box, getting reads, potentially playing defense, where there just isn't really an opportunity to simulate those types of things. But, fortunately, I guess in some respects, this is the type of injury that surfaced during a swing. So if we can get through that, then we feel like he should be able to run the base as well. He should be able to play defense.
Sounds like William Abreu is kind of at the end stages of his recovery. If all goes well, he could get him back soon?
Yeah, we're hopeful. We're optimistic. He's making progress day to day. Felt a little bit of tightness, I think, today, which is probably expected given that he started to push things over the last few days. So we'll try to strike that balance of knowing how much of an impact he can have on the lineup, with also recognizing that when he comes back, we want him at as close to full strength as possible.
All right, I want to end it by going back to that whole talk about the playoff part. You've been on teams that won it all. And I always say, having covered this game a long time, those magic numbers, they take a while to whittle down, right? Like those last couple of weeks, even when all the fan graphs percentages in the world might be on your side, getting it done is not easy. This is a relatively young team. How important is that message in that room? Do you have the guys in that room who are stressing, this isn't easy. You got to go day by day here and can't let yourself think ahead of what's happening.
Yeah, well, I think we've got a manager who's won the World Series in that position. And we've got guys like Alex Bregman who've been to the postseason every single year that he's been a big leaguer. So if you're looking for someone to help, I think throttle down a little bit, maybe can take the temperature down a couple of degrees, we've got the right guys, whether it's Alex or Trevor or others. And I think the most important message that they're trying to convey is that nobody needs to do more than they're capable of. This is a team that's been resilient throughout the season. It's overcome a bunch of challenges. And if we just stick to the game that we know how to play, we're going to end up in a pretty good spot.
All right. Last Tuesday of the regular season. So let's hope we do this again, okay?
Sounds great.
All right. Thanks. Greg Breslow with us, Chief Baseball Officer. 3:10 to left is presented by your New England Ford dealers who've been taking everyone out to the ball game at Fenway Park for decades. Catch Ford next time you're at Fenway, including in the Ford Clubhouse, a full-service bar perfect for bringing your lineup together and for recording our live edition of 310 to Left. It's all brought to you by your New England Ford dealers and F-Series, America's best-selling trucks for 48 years and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox. So Craig Breslow, give him credit for, getting Nathaniel Lowe, for example. We talk about the moves they have made, calling up Early and Tolley and Harrison and trying to patch through some of the guys they've used in right field. This hasn't been an easy September for this organization.
No, and they've needed every marginal upgrade they can get because they're scrapping right now. They have not had an easy path, a comfortable path to a lot of wins in this month. Particularly from the lineup standpoint, when they given Roman Anthony landing on the injured list completely transformed the feel of the lineup, because all of a sudden this guy where you were kind of expecting that first step out of the game to be kind of a 7-pitch grind for the opposing pitcher has gone by the wayside. So the fact that Lowe is a guy who ends up working deep into counts, regardless of the outcome, has been a valuable thing for them to have in order to give a little bit more balance, because their walk rate is kind of cratered over the course of this month, and I think that's been a big part of their struggles in the month of September in the absence of Roman Anthony.
Also gives you the defensive surety over at first base. This guy won a Gold Glove a couple of years ago, and he's not there every inning of every game, obviously, but whether he's starting or defensive replacement, you're going to get really good defense at first base.
Yeah, there's certainly been an upgrade to the overall positional group by virtue of the acquisition of Nathaniel Lowe. I will say this. Looking back at the trade deadline, I remain surprised that teams weren't more aggressive in terms of shoring up their offense. There were some interesting bats available. I think, in particular, Josh Naylor and Eugenio Suarez both moving at the deadline, and the returns for them felt lighter than they did for a lot of the rental pitchers. I remain surprised that there wasn't more aggressiveness on those fronts, because you get one shot. Well, at least via trade, right? As Breslow discussed, you also get the waiver wire over the course of the waiver wire or the DFA guys over the course of August. But I remain surprised that teams didn't take a little bit more of a shot on upgrading offense, because those guys affect every game. You add pitching help, and especially starting pitching help, and it affects 1 out of every 5 games. You look at who's been the hottest team in baseball in the month of September. That would be the Seattle Mariners, that did more to upgrade their offense than any team in baseball at the deadline.
It's Texas with a hodgepodge lineup put together that run.
In the absence of Semien.
The Athletics have won 5 in a row coming into the penultimate game of the 3-game series. I mean, it's crazy what some of these teams have done. Let's hear from Craig Breslow. Oh, we just heard from Craig Breslow. Let's hear from Nathaniel Lowe. As we talk about his arrival in Boston and his experience with Texas, winning the World Series in 2023, the journey from there to here, and maybe how that experience can help this young team. Nathaniel Lowe, Red Sox first baseman, with us on 310 to Left, presented by your New England Ford dealers. All right, Nathaniel, I was talking to Craig Breslow on the show a couple weeks ago, and I said they literally got rid of the waiver deadline in August so that a deal like this can't happen. They made a rule, but it's strange how it worked out, right? Nobody wants to be DFA'd, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
But that door closes, this door opens, and you're in a playoff race.
Yeah.
Looking back at it all, how happy are you that it all worked out this way?
I mean, it's working out exactly how it's supposed to, because I'm in the midst of underperforming for what feels like the entire season, but now I get to contribute to a team that needs me, and a team that's right on the cusp of doing something special. So it's what you play for. It feels like I'm here for a reason. I'm here for enjoying these guys and helping win baseball games, and I couldn't ask for it to work out any differently.
When July 31st comes and goes, did you think that, did you imagine a scenario in which you were going to end up on a contender, or did you think, okay, I'm here to, I'm just going to focus on getting back to offensive form? And I should note that in early August with the Nats, you were actually getting into a really good spot before you ended up DFAing you. But yeah, were you just kind of focused on finish strong, build towards something good heading into the offseason?
Yeah, especially when my phone didn't really ring on trade deadline day, and you kind of have to look back and realize, well, with how I felt like I was playing, I understood why teams might not want to pick me up, and then when Washington cut ties and I got a chance to come here, it's everything you could ever ask for. It feels like a whole renewal on a bad personal season, but it can wind up being a great team season.
And a chance for even more redemption, right? You
Absolutely.
know from 2023 what you do in October. And again, not counting any chickens yet.
Yeah.
But the opportunity over these last 11 games, possibly into October, possibly deep into October,
yeah.
you can change the outlook of your entire season.
Yeah, well, I think about it, too, like being in this position now, we almost didn't make the postseason when we won
right.
the whole thing in 23. So, you kind of teeter on the edge. You find out what the team's really made of. Like, obviously, there's some guys hurt that can't contribute. There's a lot of players banged up just because, you're 150 games into it at this point. Add spring training and add all the other training you've done. So it's a grind, but it's a new challenge every day, and this team looks like we're ready to accept that challenge.
It was game 161 that Saturday in 2023.
Oh, yeah.
Well, game 162, you were still playing for the division.
Oh my
you
gosh,
took the field
we
last
got
day.
shut out.
Right.
We got shut out. It was crazy, and like we faced we eliminated Seattle and got ourselves in the same mix, and then they run out one of the guys who is, I think, a premier right-hand starter, and he dominated us the last day of the year. And a couple bullpen guys came out, but like even that day, it was like, well, what do we do now? Because it was really quiet in the clubhouse after we lost 1-0 in game 162 with what we thought was the best offense in baseball. So the game just continues to offer new challenges every day, and obviously in 23 we met that challenge.
I have been struck by some of the parallels between that 23 team and this one, even from a record standpoint. Like you look up, and that team was 82-68. This team was 82-68. Kind of going through very up and down stretches, right? Like this team has gone through 3-game winning streak, 3-game losing streak, right? It's alternated that way. You guys would kind of alternate 6-game winning streak, 6-game losing streak. How much have you seen? Is this like, I've kind of seen this before, and is this something that you've talked about with your teammates, any of the parallels between that experience, especially because this is a younger team where you don't have a lot of guys who've experienced kind of the full September contention experience?
Yeah, well, I think conversations like that need to come up organically, because I don't want to say like, hey, guys, we did it this way, we have to do it this way again. And I personally, in the regular season in Texas, I wouldn't have drawn up our ending to go like that, but the ending that made like all the difference was, like winning the whole thing, and that's really the only thing that matters. So this group is going to find their way on their own, and I'm going to contribute to that, and we're just going to let it happen.
You arrive here, and again, to Alex's point, it's a young team. But you've got Bregman over there, you've got Story over there, you've got some pitchers who have been through some stuff. You're sort of added, I don't want to say leadership, because that's not something you thrust yourself into, but the experience part of it, right?
Yeah.
You have that experience to share. Do you think that's helped the room a little bit?
Yeah, I'd like to think just my presence would do something like that, just because I can't really go out of my way to like say too much to a new group. But if anybody asks questions, obviously I'm open for anything. So I'd like to think that I could let my bat and my glove do a little more talking than my mouth, but sometimes it calls for something verbal, and so if it does, I'll step in and say something too.
Where do you feel like you've been offensively since you've gotten over here, like in terms of letting the bat do the talking? Because I will say, I thought that the strikeout rate seemed a little bit uncharacteristic early in the season for you, but I was actually surprised by it watching you on a day-after-day basis when I'm like, actually, for a big guy, you actually do, you seem very cognizant of remaining compact in your swing and getting to a lot of juice with pretty small movements for your size. Yeah, where have you seen yourself being offensively?
Well, last week was pretty cold, but you go through it. You find a way to come through it. You find a way to squeak something out, and if I got to say it on ESPN the end of the night, the jam ball in the 4-hole was 1,000 pounds lifted off my shoulder because I finally get to drive in a run. When in the last week I feel like I left the entire lineup on base and killed every rally that I was a part of. But that's the ebbs and flows of playing 162 games, and you get to relearn every year and figure out how you need to improve. And I think that's the beauty of the sport overall, because even if you get a plaque in Cooperstown, you never truly beat it. It offers you a new challenge, and you just have to meet the challenge every day.
What's that like, by the way, doing the interview while you're playing?
It's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting. But if a pop fly goes up, you got to throw the earpiece out, because you take away one ear, and if a outfielder's running in behind me for something, or we need to communicate on the infield, and you don't have half your hearing, it's pretty tough. But it's good to keep it light. I think the fans enjoy it. It's a good experience, and I get to shout out my wife for doing a great job with the baby at home, and hopefully get some brownie points for that too.
In terms of keeping things light, how would you characterize this? Is a time of year that not a lot of these guys have experienced, right? how would you characterize what it's like to be in the middle of September, where obviously you're in one of the positions that other people want, right? Like you guys are still in possession of one of the wild card spots. That said, the lead is getting smaller.
Yeah.
What's it like showing up at the park on a day-over-day basis?
Well, you got to keep it light. The Yankees come in town. They beat us the first 2 games in a row, and I was kind of offering some jokes like, guys, if we don't win today, like it's all over. Like, forget the last 12 games that we have left. The Oakland series doesn't matter. Tampa doesn't matter. Like, we should just not show up tomorrow. But I don't know if it's well received or not, but we surely jumped out and put together a great win on Sunday, so we're happy with that. But you got to find a way to keep it light. Like, we're playing a game. You're basically playing with house money at this point because there are so many other teams that want to be in our position. Like, and if you put too much pressure on it, then it can snowball and you wind up in trouble. But as long as you go into it with a good attitude, leave it all out there, the chips are going to fall where they're supposed to.
When things were sometimes getting tight in Texas in 23, do you have like a favorite memory from September of that year of someone who just kind of broke the tension?
Austin Hedges is an all-time teammate, and like it hurt my heart when he hit that homer off Crochet, and obviously they beat him that day. But he was so good at just showing up, happy to be there, and whether he contributed, behind the dish or with game planning or however he can, like it felt like he was a good presence for that group. So guys can hopefully expand a little bit, find their niche, and then we can all come together and make something happen.
You've been at this long enough now. You've had a lot of teammates, a lot of places, but you haven't had Josh Lowe as a major league teammate. You'll go down there this weekend.
Yeah.
What's it like? Is it still special when you're
so
competing
fun.
against him?
Yeah, it's so fun, and like I've had some highs and some lows, like no pun, but he hit a go-ahead homer in Texas, like, and I wanted to trip him around first base, like, little things like that out of competition. Where if it's anybody else, it's like, so what? It's a homer. But when it's my brother, I'm like, man, like, stop it. But at the same time, too, we've had some positions late in the game in Texas where we bring in a matchup guy and he strikes him out, and like I'm fired up for it because it's an out for us, but at the same time for him I'm like, dang it, like come on, drive the ball. So it's an interesting mix, but I think I'm most happy that my parents are going to be there. We're going to have some family there, like they get to see me in this uniform, and it's going to be a special weekend.
Well, it's always been amazing to watch, your parents, especially your mom, in the divided jersey, right?
Oh, yeah.
Although, again, you guys are in the driver's seat on a postseason spot. Realistically, don't know about Tampa Bay. Does mom go all in for let's root for the playoffs?
No way. She will not. She will not. No, I joke all the time that he's the favorite, so he's going to get the same half of the jersey that I get, and she's going to be just as happy for both of us. I can't tell you who she wants to win, but I know she wants both of us to play well.
So most of us know the story that you started getting called Nathan a lot organically.
Oh, yeah.
And she wanted it to be Nathaniel because that was your name. But she hasn't gone Joshua. Like,
no.
She hasn't changed.
Well, he might be the favorite. So. A little more leniency.
He can get away with it.
A little more leniency.
It was funny. You kind of did that for your mom, which is pretty cool, right? I mean, you get to do a lot of this when you get drafted, when you make your major league debut. Those are moments you get to share with your family, but it isn't often like during a career you get to say, you know what, I'm going to do this because my mom wants this. It's going to make her happy. How cool was it to sort of say, she wants me to be called Nathaniel? Please call me Nathaniel.
Well, there were a lot of apologies after, like all the PR, like all the reporters, this, that. They were so sorry we called you Nate and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, listen, like I don't care. I've been called Nate forever. Nate's a lot easier to say when I meet new people, and I respond to most everything. But she named me Nathaniel. She called me that my entire life. My immediate family calls me that still. So when somebody calls me Nathaniel, I turn around and think like, all right, I know you from somewhere. But if it makes her happy, I'll do it.
The subject of your mom wearing the incredible customized jersey does bring up a question that I've been meaning to ask you, and I didn't realize that we were going to be turning this into the sartorial sensibilities of Nathaniel Lowe, but here we are. You are more committed to the turtleneck than any baseball player I have ever seen.
There it is.
It's pretty striking, like short sleeves, like still going turtleneck.
Yeah.
How long has this commitment been in place, and what is underlying it?
It started I saw one. I got to give Andrew Velasquez his roses,
okay,
because he's like the original like cool guy that I played with. He's a New Yorker,
awesome.
And great story and really good player too. And I saw him wearing the Rays one like in minor league camp, and I was like, man, if I could get a pair of stirrups, wear the old turtleneck, get the really tight pants that show way too much, like maybe there'll be something to it. And I'm pretty sure the first time I wore it, I hit 2 homers, and I was like, you know what? There's hits in this thing. I'm just going to let it rock.
Does it ever get hot? Don't you get hot?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And actually, my red flip-over one, Walker Buehler gave it to me. This one, my wife found on eBay, and it just showed up today. I'll tell you what, man, it is hard to find majestic anything. And I'm pretty sure this thing is older than I am. But, I just kind of pressed into the look, and for some reason our record's really good when I wear it, so I'm going to try and bust it out as much as I can.
Whatever it takes. You mentioned before getting to shout out to your wife. You get here, paternity leave.
Right away.
Now you're back to it. How's everything going on the home front?
It's been great. Yeah, he's been sleeping well for the most part. I think last night was his first night where he decided that he didn't want to sleep, but she's doing so great, picking up her end of the slack, and she gets to come up here for this last homestand against Detroit, so I can't wait for her to be here. I can't wait to see him, and I'll trade sleep any day just to be with him. But it makes coming home from work that much easier to know that there's important things out there, and being a father has been a gift. So all 12 hours that I got to spend with him before I came back was great, but I spent a lot of time on FaceTime looking at him.
We talked about your mom and your brother and, your child, you as a child, if you will. How cool is it to start thinking about him coming to watch you play, that next generation?
I can't wait, yeah. And, I've been around a ton of teammates with families and all that stuff, and when you get to the age where the kids start asking, hey, Dad, why'd you swing at that? Or what's going on there? I think I think I'm up for that challenge. It's such a cool thing for me to have this as my job, but for him to go to school and say, hey, my dad's a Major League Baseball player. I got to go in the clubhouse yesterday, or get the really good seats and sit close and watch my dad at work. It's kind of what it's all about. So it's been a great experience so far.
So when your son asks you, about your experience with the 2025 Red Sox, how would you describe that? You have kind of this interesting insider-outsider's perspective by virtue of the fact that you were coming to the team middle of the year. How would you describe what this team is, what this team has been like, both in terms of the internal dynamics and then what you guys, what you guys are doing on the field?
Well, I got to join this team. I think we're in second place in the division, trying to run down Toronto. New York ran past us in the last couple days, but this team is promising. This team is talented. This team has a chance to make a really great run, but we need to lock it in this last week and a half and make something happen. So, we just need to continue to evolve as a group and tighten up a couple areas here and there, but we can only do what we can do. So guys need to step up and do their job, and I think collectively we'll like the result. You
got a taste, especially Sunday night, of what this place could be like.
Oh, yeah.
Right, come October. And, again, Texas-Houston Game 7 was probably pretty loud.
It was
right?
awesome.
Yeah, so, but, you think about this place in the history. Have you thought about what it would be like, whether you talk about clinching, you talk about playoff games, just, that little feeling of it over the weekend with the Yankees?
Yeah. You can't count your chickens before they hatch, but a playoff series here is going to be wild.
Finally, these fans, what have they been like for you? What's it been like?
Just so encouraging, you hear so many things about it, but when you stand on deck and the guys are sitting there yelling at you and yelling great things at you, I had somebody the other day say, man, you're living out my dream, go out there and have a great at-bat. And I'm pretty sure I swung and missed 3 times and walked right back to the dugout. But
how's the dream look now?
Yeah, it's not that easy, bud. I promise I'm trying my hardest. No, but it's been so welcoming. It really has. And I feel like people truly care about us winning. They care about us doing well and playing well. So it's been everything I could ever ask for.
That's great having you here. We appreciate the visit and looking forward to the next couple of weeks and more.
Thanks.
And watching the sibling rivalry. You did the Red Sox-Yankees rivalry, the second biggest rivalry that you'll be exposed to this week.
Let's give it to
We're going to call him Joshua all weekend, just for you.
Thank you. My mom will really appreciate that.
What a refreshing personality he is, isn't he? A different guy to talk to in the major league sense. Very comfortable in his skin.
Yeah, and it is really interesting to have the perspective that he does of being someone who can really kind of appreciate the moment that he's in, because this ain't DC, right? This is no longer Washington, where he was trying not to, where you try to find ways of remaining engaged and kind of focused when you are dealing with a team that's very much out of contention for the last couple of weeks, and all of a sudden, boom, you kind of get this parachute where you are dropped into the middle of games of consequence in an environment where it's live, and he seems to truly appreciate that. And I do think that we talked about it with some of the young guys coming up, right? Like with a refreshing personality like a Peyton Tolley, or now with Connolly Early, and seeing some of the excitement that he can channel and generate. But it's true of veterans too, when they can take a moment to appreciate the circumstances they're in. That's pretty significant.
He's not offensively anywhere near the same, but that comment he was telling us about, after losing the first 2 games of the Yankees, say we lose tonight, season's over. It kind of felt very Kyle Schwarber-like.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't it? Like Schwarber's impact on this team in 21 in the clubhouse.
Yeah, I love that. Like the idea of being able to completely change the tone surrounding a moment, particularly like a moment where you're being challenged, is a pretty that being able to strike that tone in a way that can allow everyone to take a deep breath is a really great attribute. And one, when you think about just the constancy of baseball games over the course of 162, the idea of not a tone setter but a tone shifter is a pretty significant one. I thought that was hilarious. That and the turtlenecks, man. I was so happy to be able to get to the bottom of that question.
Right, it's a great question. It was the question of the interview, and to find out he's wearing one that was purchased on eBay.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely makes our day.
Yeah.
And it should make your day. Don't worry about your wardrobe. Don't worry about your wardrobe. It'll look good on you, okay? But it is interesting because you mentioned the analogies between that 23 Rangers team, and it is the ultimate reminder. The Diamondbacks of that same season making it to the World Series. You get in and you get hot, anything can happen. The Red Sox kind of were like that in 21, right?
Yeah.
Making it the last day. But getting it together, getting a little momentum going. You beat the Yankees in that first wild card game, and all of a sudden you got a little something going. It takes 2 weeks of good baseball to really make a deep run.
Yeah, or a few games at a time, and that's it. It is interesting. We've had a chance over the course of the time that both of us have been covering the Red Sox to see all kinds of different scenarios. There is that relate to what this September slide has been like. We have seen the team slide right out of contention at the end in 2011. We've seen the team kind of back into the playoffs in 2005, and then just kind of surviving. And there are a lot of parallels between that season and this one, because the Red Sox had a comfortable lead in the AL East with a couple weeks to go, and it all went away fast. They ended up capturing the wild card on the final game of the season, but then just being rolled in 3 games in the ALDS. So we've seen that happen. We have seen them back in as they did in a certain sense in 21, and then all of a sudden catch a wave, and coming out of that DC series to end the season, building upon that and going very surprisingly right past not only the Yankees but then the Rays into the ALCS. So yes, there are all kinds of roads that remain open. September, how a team plays in September doesn't necessarily have a huge correlation with their effectiveness or success in October. Just get in, and it's a new season.
And get healthy. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, I want to get to the Tim Wakefield Memorial Golf Tournament that was held on Monday. Final home off day, right? They have an off day Monday in Toronto. But they were home, and it was a really an incredible event once again. Over $400,000 raised for the Red Sox Foundation in honor of Tim and Stacy Wakefield. Since the inception of the event in 2014, over $4 million raised for the critical work being done by the Red Sox Foundation. Spoke to several of the former players, current players, manager Alex Cora, everybody who was there, talking about how great it is, whatever happens over the next 2 weeks, to have playoff race baseball back at Fenway Park in Boston. Here's what they said. So just real quick, this team's in it with 2 weeks left. I mean, we know that this doesn't happen every year anymore. So how cool is it when you come back here to sort of see the excitement? The environment's different now. The fans are back into it.
It is. I was there last night. They needed that game bad last night. But I followed this thing, as, the All-Star break, they got hot. Now everybody expects them to be there. And all of a sudden you lose 3 out of 4. Oh, my God, we're going to get in, right? But you got to like the team. And then Anthony goes down and everybody goes, oh. But if you can get in, you never know. Like I was talking, you got 3 horses, and then you got a guy at the end, so you can make a run, but you got to get there. And so everybody's kind of being careful right now.
It's a day off. 2 weeks left as you go here. The playoff atmosphere is back in Boston. Crowd's been crazy. I know there's a lot of work to do, but how exciting is it to have this back in Boston?
No, it's awesome. Something we talked about last year when we after the season, right? Me, Sam, and Bress, we were sitting there with you, and we said it. Talk is cheap, right? We needed to execute the off season. They did an outstanding job. You got to give credit to the players for what everybody's saying about the other teams, man, we've been backed up throughout the season. People have stepped up. I've been surprised with the arms that we have in the system. They have come up and contribute. So we got 2 weeks left, man, and this is something that we wanted a while ago, and hopefully we can accomplish our goal.
Status report update. 2 weeks left in the season. Where you at?
We're at Belmont Golf Course right now for the Tim Wakefield Golf Day. And we're trying to raise as much money as we can. That's my status report.
All right, let's get your status report on the field. You're good at this. Is there a chance still? Like, where are you at?
Unlikely unless it's a deep playoff run. But we'll go from there if anything else happens.
You've been through a lot. You've been around a lot. You've seen a lot in this game. Being in the clubhouse with this group, what can you do to sort of, we've talked to guys over the years like a Dustin Pedroia, right? You can sort of rally. It's tough that you're not out there. But can you help this team by being part of it all?
This year's been hard on me mentally, just because like last year I knew I was going to be rehabbing all year. This year has been kind of a unexpected rehab and hasn't necessarily gone all that well. So it's been very difficult mentally. So like I'm doing my best to just remain who I am, but it's a lot harder this year than it has been.
I'll ask you because you get to see this team closer than any of us do. What should we know about this team, and what gives you faith that October could be something special here?
One loss doesn't rock the boat. That's the one thing that I've noticed. It's like, we'll have a couple losses here and there, but they're able to right the ship, and it doesn't linger, it doesn't hang on. It's they care enough that it's not like a jovial experience in the clubhouse after a loss, but they also don't hang on to it all that much, and they're able to turn the page the next day, and that's one thing that you really need. You can't hang on, especially this time of the year. You can't hang on to those losses, and you can't let them kind of define who you are based upon one loss. Even if you go 6-1, sometimes that one loss can linger a little longer. So they do a good job of turning the page.
Awesome.
Like we did. Appreciate it.
3:10 to left is presented by your New England Ford dealers, who've been taking everyone out to the ball game at Fenway Park for decades. Catch Ford next time you're at Fenway, including in the Ford Clubhouse, a full-service bar perfect for bringing your lineup together and for recording our live edition of 3:10 to left. It's all brought to you by your New England Ford dealers and F-Series, America's best-selling trucks for 48 years and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox.
They can talk about, so that's great feedback, right? Like, there is excitement for these games in September. That's well and good, though, until it goes sideways. Yeah. If it goes sideways, then they might feel a little bit different about the whole dynamic.
Go ask the 2011 team how they felt about playoff atmosphere and the race.
Yeah, not exactly. That is rarely a moment that is cited fondly in terms of, the best times of my career were when.
So what do they need to do? I mean, they've got the pitching lined up. Obviously, they've got the big three, as we said. If you win all those 7 games, that'll get you there. Yeah. By and large, right? Yeah. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And so we everybody's talking about what is going wrong of late. What do they need to do over these last 10, 11 games to get the job done?
I mean, I think that there are 2 critical deficiencies that they want to see starting to get better. One is, the offense has just been thin. How do they get to more consistent? Run scoring? Fewer games where they're shut down, limited to 1 or 2 runs. And it probably starts with a more disciplined approach, being better about attacking pitches that are in the middle of the strike zone, not selling out for pitches on the edges of the strike zone early in counts, and just having a better offensive approach, especially against opposing starting pitchers on a night after night basis. And then the other thing, I think that they have reason to feel pretty good about the state of their rotation, all things considered right now, particularly given the way that Early is pitched. But I think that finding more depth in the bullpen, particularly, how are you going to be able to strike out batters in the middle innings, right-handed batters in the middle innings? I think that that's been a question that they haven't answered at all in the second half of the season. And, you might start seeing some opportunities for a guy like Zach Kelly to creep into the equation because they've been fishing. They just haven't been able to have the reliable lockdown in the middle innings to turn leads into wins.
As we sit here, there's still uncertainty on Willie Abreu. I thought we might have a date. If not, having already seen him in a game, that we'd be okay. He's in tomorrow. Not the case. How concerned should we be about the fact that this keeps on dragging?
Yeah, well, I think that each time the timeline has only gotten longer with just about every update. I don't think there's been one time where you've heard about a watershed that said, "Oh, actually, it's happening." It's never. it seems like it's always been at some point at least 2 arms length out, and sometimes it gets further away rather than closer. So I do think that they seem to be confident that they seem confident that he is making progress. I think there's a pretty decent likelihood that we see him primarily, if not exclusively, as a DH once he does return, because this injury doesn't seem to be responding terribly well to the rigors of trying to be a baseball player with all the different kinds of movements you need on the field. So concerning, because even if he does come back, what exactly are you expecting from a guy who's missed a few weeks and is going to take a little while to regain his timing?
Having said all that, the numbers still, I know 2011 shows us anything can happen, and yet it is still, what are the 90? It's in the 90 percentile.
I think it maybe has dropped to the 85%, but
you
still,
and your math.
Close enough. 6 out of 7 teams that are in this position make the postseason. That's what that number means.
Right.
That's still a pretty good spot. That's an enviable spot to be in. That's certainly a spot that Texas or Cleveland would rather be in than the one that they are in. So,
had you said this in February, most fans would have taken it in a heartbeat.
You think?
I do.
I think that the expectations for this team were pretty darn high.
January, before they signed Alex Bregman. How about that? January.
I will accept your revised estimate, and I think that that's reasonable. I think that they and it's good to set expectations high.
Right.
It is good because it's good to set levels of accountability in terms of what performance, what qualifies as acceptable performance. This team has offered mediocre baseball at Fenway for the last few years, and so demand more than that. And so everyone should be disappointed at this point if they do not make the playoffs. But they are in the position to make the playoffs, and don't take that for granted.
Okay, you are going to Tampa Bay?
I am in Tampa Bay.
For the low versus low battle?
It's the lowdown.
The lowdown.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. The dirty lowdown.
Hey, what are you talking about with their
It's a Boss Gag song. That's all. I'm just quoting music.
Yeah,
do you go to Toronto?
No. I'm
what,
staying south
what
of
if
the border.
that's where it happens?
Then I will be observing it. Tom, you just told me that these things tend to go down to the last few days
do.
anyway. So
it might be the last day in Toronto.
You and I will be here at Fenway.
I was thinking about this the other day. How about this? I
Left.
was thinking about this the other day because we started talking about post-game shows. And again, not getting ahead of ourselves, but champagne clinching post-game shows are a unique thing.
Oh,
right?
man.
You don't do anything except watch what happens in the locker room as it comes in.
I've learned some things about keeping recording devices and or iPhones in Ziploc bags.
Right.
They still record very well through a Ziploc, Tom.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I'm usually in studio. I did a few in there back in the day, but now I've been in studio. I was thinking about it today. I've done 28. I counted up. 28 clinching regular season and playoffs, right? Clinching a playoff series, clinching a regular season. So it's been a while. 21. We used to take these for granted. We used to expect this every year.
In 21, there was no post-game clubhouse access because it was still
COVID,
it was still the full season COVID protocols.
They had a dozen guys at various hotels with COVID in September. Remember that?
Point. Oh, I sure do. So it really hasn't been since 2018 that we've gotten to see what a post-game celebration has looked like. I think that they did have the webcam with I forget what was the theme song that they had in 2021.
Oh, that's right.
Was rocking, and then carried over to Philly. But at any rate, it's been a little while since we've seen celebrations up close and personal.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to that.
I would think so. It's the best thing to watch baseball games that have the greatest.
And it would be great to happen at Fenway, but the Red Sox would love to have it happen before that.
They would love to have it happen anywhere. I think there's
but the magic number, it's been a hard. Here's the other thing, real quick. This is a personal. I'm pretty good. The magic number thing, but the wild card makes it really hard now.
Yeah.
The 3 wild card because you got magic numbers, right?
Yeah.
You got a magic number for Texas. You got a magic number for Cleveland. Technically, still a magic number for Kansas City.
It's a mess.
Yeah,
it's a mess.
You can't just say 9 wins or Cleveland losses.
Correct.
Because then it could still be Texas winning 10 in a row.
Right, but the 9 works. The 9
works. Is roughly
if
where we're at.
If you go with the fourth place wild card team, you're in a good spot for figuring it out.
If you go 9 and
what we
go
know,
9
Tom,
and 1 down the stretch, you'll be in.
What we know, Tom, is that with 2.5, a lead of 2.5, is above the Caron line.
It is above the Caron line of contention.
Yeah.
It's 2. We go 2 in the loss column. It's loss column.
Okay.
First of all,
okay.
Defined in the Caron line of contention.
Yeah.
It's the games in the loss column, and remember, we round up until Friday at 12:01 a.m. The Thursday games are considered rounding up. So
Okay.
the midweek series. So right now, In my definition of the Carolina contention, there are 2 weeks left.
Okay.
Friday morning, 12:01 a.m., there's 1 week left.
Okay. Great. We will look forward to the updated version.
No, you're really not. It was good. Good stuff today. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
All right.
Great.
Nathaniel Lowe was great. Don't call him Nate. But we will.
If you know where to find some Red Sox turtlenecks for him,
go on
he's
eBay.
Open-minded, evidently.
Go sell them on eBay. His wife will scoop them up. For Alex Speier, Nathaniel Lowe, and everyone working behind the scenes, like Bobby Swan, who's our camera operator and is not even looking at us as we do this. That's how confident he is in our ability to get this done. I'm Tom Caron. Thanks for checking out this edition of 310 to Left, presented by your New England Ford dealers and F-Series, America's best-selling truck for 48 years, and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox. We'll see you again next time.